So having less technology is, I think, generally a good thing. But we don't. We have a lot of it. But there are advantages to having it too. There's a lot of different things that enables us to do where we can do a lot more with less. But it's pretty common now for people to realize, oh, technology is not just an unequivocal good. There's definitely things that it is bad for. So, like everything, like we've talked to Carter, what are you going to do about that? How are you going to help that? Because if you're not intentional about it, I guarantee you won't be doing the correct thing by default, and it will affect you.
Welcome to the Circle Dwellers podcast, a production of the Protestant monastic order of Life Mission Fellowship. This is a show about living out the gospel in an intentional Christian community. My name is Matt Krell. I'm back here with my brother and co-host, Timothy Krell. And today, we wanted to talk about something that I guess we might say is kind of near and dear to our hearts because both you and I work as programmers professionally here. But what we wanted to talk about is technology and kind of how we as Christians and monks at that think about it and how do we approach technology.
Yeah. Like you said, this is something that we think a lot about because we do a lot with technology, and our dad, who also happens to be the abbot, is very big into technology. I remember some of it being very little, even before you were born, and him being into computers and stuff and showing me stuff with computers. So that's definitely come through. We've even had people visit who are kind of surprised by the amount of technology because, I mean, not everybody knows how to, create a local, area network and have, bridge different sections with fiber optic cable and,
we're pretty
set up Wi-Fi in a more kind of enterprise scenario versus, just slapdash consumer thing. And,
I mean, heck, I've had ISPs come and like surprised at what we're running. They're like, "Wait, whoa, you guys are like rolling your own network and everything?" Like, yeah.
Most people listening probably won't even know what I'm going to say, but right now, like, they'll come and like they want to set the static IP address on the printer, and they're like, well, we have the DHCP server automatically assign it based on its MAC address, and they're like, oh, okay. Most of the businesses we work at don't even know that, so all that to say, we like our technology and we do a bunch of stuff with it, but sometimes that's also surprising too, because one of the things I feel like is common that you would see with groups that want to be intentional about the way they live is sometimes a suspicion or a limiting of technology, like the Amish or something, right? And I mean, by all intents and purposes, that works out really well to do that.
I mean, the
in their happiness levels and health outcomes and all sorts of things. And as I've had, I mean, we both had different health journeys and stuff, and I've realized like, oh wow, these EMF things might actually be a problem, and we have Wi-Fi everywhere.
I'm totally opposed, man. I've got an Apple Watch here,
and all that I'm kind of stuff.
Those EMFs straight into my body.
So having less technology is, I think, generally a good thing, but we don't. We have a lot of it, but there are advantages to having it too. There's a lot of different things that enables us to do where we can do a lot more with less. We're able to accomplish a bunch of things and, run life in a certain way and be able to have people dedicated to different things that in a normal scenario we might not able to, because it's just one person couldn't do all those things by themselves without the benefit of computers or things like that. So there's trade-offs like everything, but it's pretty common now for people to realize, oh, technology is not just an unequivocal good. There's definitely things that it is bad for. I really like Jonathan Peugeot talks about technology as kind of being the garments of skin, where it's, you know, they're given to clothe the nakedness and to make up for something. But they're not, it's obviously there's a fallenness, a brokenness that necessitated the need for the garments of skin to be given. So I think it's important to see technology in that way. It's not just this, oh, mankind is on this perfect betterment, and everything is just better and better, everything that we do to make technology more, and it's just unequivocal good. No, it's a compromise. It helps different things, but it also comes with a lot of negative consequences as well. And dear listener, do I need to list them? I'm sure you can think of all of the negative consequences. But social media and media addiction and all, everything, every terrible thing on the internet that and then like health things too, EMFs. And I've been reading about blue light stuff and realizing that that's not great, and I should even be wearing my glasses now to help with the blue light. I have them somewhere.
You're right.
I don't know where they are.
You're probably right. I should be doing that.
Yeah.
I got the same. I got that same thing that you have now.
You have the red ones, right, for evening. So those.
Yes, that's right. I have.
Yeah. So those are good for evening because they it helps with your circadian rhythm. But I have like the orange tinted ones can help cut down. You don't necessarily want to wear the red ones apparently all day, because you do want your body to wake up and and everything. Right. But it's still like the screens. If you look at a spectrum, there's way more blue light in them than is normal in just normal sunlight.
Right.
It's way out of balance. So you can cut that down with glasses, and that's the whole thing. But we weren't going to go into health stuff. But technology, it affects your health. It affects your spiritual health, your physical health, everything, right? So like everything, like we've talked with Carter, what are you going to do about that? How are you going to help that? Because if you're not intentional about it, I guarantee you won't be doing the correct thing by default, and it will affect you.
Yeah. So kind of our methodology we have is, first of all, we're not afraid of it. Because like you said, every technology has a good side and a bad side. So we're always interested in the goodness we can get out of a technology. So, we're not going to go in blindly, but we're also not going to be like super afraid of it, or because there's a lot of good that sometimes you can have with computers and such. So yeah, we're nerds. We're interested in this stuff. So we have just a curiosity about things. We're always trying stuff. So that's kind of our default position. But the biggest thing that we do is that if we notice ourselves being dependent on it in some way, then we try to find ways to regulate it and correct it. So great example of this is media consumption. On the Sabbath, which is basically the weekends, and then on Sunday as well, we limit how our electronic consumption. So we're not watching movies or a lot of people here will do like watch documentaries and educational stuff too during that time. But basically, we're not doing any like YouTube or just random Marvel films. We're not doing that during the weekend, and that helps keep Sunday sacred. It helps us prepare for Sunday because we're doing it on Saturday and so forth. And then also we don't use our phones while we're at dinner and things like that. So it always just boils down to, wait a minute, we can feel ourselves going too far over the line, or that we're becoming dependent on this. Okay, well, let's see if we can find a way to pare it back and add a little discipline around that.
Yeah. We've gone over we have an episode on Lent, right?
Yes. Yeah, we did.
Yeah. So watch that episode too, talk a little bit more about that. But, so I think it's basically should have like rhythms for the day, the week, and the year to limit your technology use, right? And so have, different things throughout the day. Is like we said, like, during the day we have time and we'd say, okay, this isn't for normal entertainment media consumption and different things like that. During the week, we have the weekend is set aside, where we have times where we kind of know, okay, we're not going to be watching videos or different things or entertainment during this time, or Sundays, have different kinds. So we're like, okay, we'll focus on, maybe reading the scriptures, listening to the scriptures, listening to teachings or different things like that. But not, just some random podcast or something. And then, throughout the year, and we have different times. And one of the big ones is Lent, where we limit our media consumption and things like that. I think another thing too is like to be really intentional about when you're using technology around other people, like the phones specifically, so generally at meals, we try, to keep our phones in our pockets and just talk to each other and not be on your phones when you're eating, different things like that. One thing we kind of all decided on collectively was on Sundays to read the scripture from the book.
Oh yeah,
instead
I've
of
heard about that. That's a good one to mention.
from our phones, right? Because it's really convenient to pull up your phone and find the reference and read it on there. But that's another way that we kind of limit it, and is better. I think there's a lot of other things too, of just thinking through, how does this piece of technology affect our lives, and does it help or does it hinder with that? And I'm kind of having trouble thinking of like some very specific examples off the top of my head, but that's generally whenever there's something technology and new that we want to bring in and use, that's primarily what we're thinking about first, is how does this affect our life together, and does this hinder or help, right? I think one other aspect of that, maybe like you could say, is during COVID, when there was lockdowns and stuff, we did some services on Zoom and did some meetings on Zoom and stuff because we were supposed to, until we eventually said, forget this, like this is never going to end. Like we'd rather risk our lives together than be separate. But there's sort of a pull or feeling like, oh, maybe we could do members meetings remotely or something, because it just feels more convenient, but no, there's things that are important enough to us that we really should be in person for these,
Yeah, exactly.
And there's a way that like technology, you could just say, like, just unequivocally, it's easier to just be at my house and flip on the webcam and join a meeting that way. So we should just do that because that's more convenient, right? Well, not necessarily. There's all sorts of trade-offs in there of not having this connection with people, and having more friction for things that are important is sometimes actually good, because it reinforces in your mind, and says, this is an important thing. It's important enough for you to do it in a more inconvenient way, in a sense, than would be with technology, there's different ways that that's expressed itself too, and other things like, and we don't do this now, but like there was a time where we used to have these really big leaf days where we would all go and rake the leaves together. There was probably an easier way to do it in one sense then too, but it was valuable to us at the time to have this big community event where we were all doing that together. And we don't do that now, but we make up for that in other ways. But that's kind of the weight, I think, that you need to put on things, and just you should always be suspicious of technology, because the default is to not be, because people are selling you stuff, and because we're, the culture is just technology is our savior and will be the thing that makes everything better.
Yeah.
And so it, you could be too Luddite and over cautious, maybe. I don't know. Like, it's Amish seem to be doing pretty good even still, in some metrics. So but in theory, I would think there's a way that would be too much for us, right? But if you kind of err towards the side of too much, you probably end up just about right, because you have the culture pulling you this other direction.
True. Yeah, and you can always correct later. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
stay flexible.
But it's not, it's that principle of, it's the garments of skin. It's not just this unequivocal good. There's trade-offs, and you need to be intentional about it to make sure that it isn't consuming you and authoring your worldview and your life together with other people according to, what Jeff Bezos thinks is correct.
Yeah, absolutely. And like a lot of the people who work in Silicon Valley are transhumanists, right? Like it's a godless perspective, and they really do think that technology
Yeah.
is going to be their savior and solve the problems. And nope,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not
And
going to do that.
and like, in one sense, you'll hear people say, like, not, oh, it doesn't matter what those people's worldview is, because it's just the technology, right? So it's like, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter if, I keep calling him Tim Apple because people call him Tim Apple, but it's Tim Cook.
I haven't heard that before. That's hilarious.
You never heard people call him Tim Apple?
No, that's hilarious.
People yeah, but like, Tim Cook has a worldview I know that I don't agree with. I'm very certain he's not a Christian or anything like that. And the popular idea would be thinking, oh, who cares, right? He made an iPhone and you can use it, and that's great. Sort of, yes. That's some true to some extent. Just like with art, judge the art, even if the artist, isn't necessarily fully aligned with your worldview. The art that they produce may actually be something worth looking at, and not to necessarily judge it. Same with the technology that someone produces. But at the same time, it's impossible for your worldview to end up in that. And the way an iPhone is designed, the way all sorts of different technology is designed, has worldviews encoded in it, and they are speaking to you every day. And you need to be aware of that, because otherwise, like we talked about on previous podcast, it's going to author you, just like, the culture will teach your kids if you step out of the way and not, say you're not going to give them a worldview or anything. Same with your technology. If you're not being proactive about it and trying to limit it, the worldviews and the assumptions and the ideas of what is valuable that have been encoded in that piece of technology will train you, shape you, and mold you until all of a sudden you have a different worldview than the one that we as Christians are supposed to be following, because you've been worshiping at the altar of the worldview that is encoded in this piece of technology.
Yeah. And if you really want to get like symbolically conspiracy theory, Apple is literally a bitten apple in its logo.
Yeah,
it's not exactly a coincidence, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, but it depends on whether you want to stick your tinfoil hat on for that or not. But yeah, nonetheless, read the symbolic lines here, people. Anyway, just to end this video though, we wanted to give you a little practical advice that you could do right now, and that is try a social media fast. It's a pretty easy, I'm gonna put that in air quotes, Easy thing you can do. Maybe just try to go like 1 day a week, like on Sunday, just without using Facebook or Twitter or whatever. I can personally attest to the fact that that totally does help you. I love doing a social media fast on every Lent, especially because I'm on it all the time, unfortunately, because I'm in front of my computer. It's so easy to pop open Twitter and such, but follow me on Twitter. Anyway, but yeah. But yeah, social media fast, fantastic stuff there. These platforms are actually designed to be like addictive, basically. If you
Oh
want
yeah,
to
yeah.
get yourself, like,
Yeah, they
go
have that
look
encoded in
into
them for sure. Let me tell you, they make a lot of
Yeah.
money off of hiring people who are like, how do slot machines work, and why do people sit down at slot machines for their entire day and lose all their money? Oh, we'll take those principles and put them in this social media. There we go.
Yeah, it's real, people. Go look it up. It's quite disturbing. So anyway, yeah, that's a really easy, relatively easy thing you can do, is just to try to fast from social media during certain times. Maybe try, if that's too much for a whole day, maybe try doing it during a meal. That's an easy one. Yeah. And you're probably going to find it's a lot harder than you think. I definitely know it was hard for me when I first tried to do that. So, yeah. Anyway, but we highly recommend it. It will definitely be very helpful for your mental health. But yeah, I think it will help you just be more aware of the world too, and hear God's voice better because you have fewer distractions in your life and such. So anyway, that's just a little tip you can do, take away with for yourself. Anyway, any final thoughts you think?
Yeah, I don't think so, but be suspicious of your technology and be intentional about it.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, if you liked this podcast, you can hit the like button. Please comment underneath if you got any questions, whatever. Be happy to answer those. If you're listening to this on a podcast platform like Spotify, please give us a 5-star rating. That'd be awesome. And of course, hit the subscribe button if you're watching to us on YouTube. And that's going to be it for today.
Yeah, thank you everyone for your attention, and God bless.